Hi, this is Sue Jackson, and I'm here today with another Friday Reads, a quick update on what I've been reading this week and listening to on audio. I am all in on the Big Book Summer Challenge, and I hope you are too. The challenge is now in its 13th year. I added a co-host this year, Melinda at A Web of Stories, and it's very simple. A big book is any book with 400 or more pages. Any kind, any genre, any type or format, doesn't matter. If it's 400 or more pages in print, then it counts as a big book. And between now and September 1st, you've got all that time to read one, or two, or however many you want. So I am enjoying my big book summer. I have just finished my first big book on audio. I'm 20 pages from the end of my second big book in print, and I've got two ready to start today. So I'm going to tell you all about those in just a moment. First, I wanted to let you know that yesterday I had the pleasure of meeting up with a YouTube friend in person. That is always so much fun. I met up with Sara of Hiking Outdoor Family channel. Sara has an amazing channel filled with beautiful nature videos. She goes on hikes. She visits all kinds of really cool and interesting places. I encourage you to check out her videos because they're all just really great. She is so good with her video camera. And in fact, I was picking up some tips yesterday. So she lives only about 30 minutes from me. So yesterday she came down here to Delaware and I showed her around one of my favorite places to hike, Ashland Nature Center here in northern Delaware. And I really enjoyed getting to show her around. It was a beautiful day, a little hot for me, but, and I loved having a chance to get to know her better. If you ever have a chance to meet some of your online friends in real life, I highly recommend it. I actually do it quite often, and it's always such a joy. And Sara surprised me. Besides having a love of the outdoors and nature in common, she is also an avid reader. She was pleased to find out that on my channel I cover both nature and books. And yesterday she brought a book for me, A Walk in the Park, the true story of a spectacular misadventure in the Grand Canyon by Kevin Fedarko. Sara's already read this. She really enjoyed it. And based on the kinds of books that I like, she thought I would like it too. So that was so sweet of her. It is just over 400 pages if you're looking for a recommendation for Big Book Summer. So I will add it to my Big Book Summer stack. I'm not sure I'll get to it this summer, but if not, I will definitely read it for Nonfiction November because this looks fabulous and right up my alley. Thanks, Sara, and be sure to check out her channel. Even if you're not into hiking and kayaking and things like that, just watching her beautiful, soothing nature videos will bring you some peace and tranquility. So, what have I been reading? I am 20 pages from the end of Madame Bovery by Gustave Flaubert, a classic. I really wanted to finish it last night, but I've been pushing myself pretty hard this week. Yesterday was the second walk I'd gone on with friends this week, and it's a lot for me. So yeah, I needed my sleep last night. So I've only got 20 pages left. I'll finish it when I go up for my nap this afternoon. Now, I have a lot of classics waiting on my shelf to be read. What spurred me on to read this one now is that Melinda at A Web of Stories, my co-host for Big Book Summer and a longtime virtual friend of mine, I'd like to meet her in person someday. She just read this for her March-April Classics read-along book. And so I was hoping to get in on the conversation. Now, in my previous video, I think in several previous videos, I mistakenly said this was Melinda's book for April, May. It was actually March, April. So I kind of miss that, but I'm still looking forward to discussing it with her. So the title character here, Emma, in the beginning of the novel, marries a man named Charles Bovery. And actually, the novel starts with Charles's childhood, so we get to know Charles a bit first. And Charles is kind of an average, ordinary sort of man in the mid-1800s. I believe the translator's notes said when he starts school, which I think he was a young teenager at the time, it was 1827. So that's the period of time here. It takes place in France, mostly in rural France. So Charles is kind of a mediocre student, but he does manage to work hard and become certified as a doctor. He gets a job in a small town as the town doctor, and he meets Emma for the first time when Charles goes to their house to set her father's broken leg. That's how they meet. Charles is immediately taken with her. He goes back more often than he needs to check on the broken leg and how it's healing. And over time, they get to know each other. They get married. It seems like Emma loves him as much as he loves Emma. And then almost immediately after they get married, Emma decides she's not in love with Charles, that she only married as an escape from the confines of her home life in her small town. But she's now in another small town where she doesn't know anyone. So Emma is not happy. And this is a thread throughout the novel. Emma is never happy. The biggest problem, really, you know this right from the beginning. Emma went to a convent school as a young girl. She's pretty naive and inexperienced, but she has read a lot of romance novels. And so her thinking process is, I can't be in love with Charles because this isn't the way they describe love in all the books. So she's got this very idealistic view of what love means. Not realistic at all. And she never really gives Charles or their marriage a chance. So I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Emma has a series of affairs because she is constantly looking for the kind of love that she's read about. And of course, that's not real life. In real life, love takes work. There are always things that you don't like about the other person, but you work together to strengthen your relationship. Anyway, that's pretty much the plot line through this novel. So I found Emma very frustrating, and which is probably obvious from my description. She's just so idealistic, and yeah, I just found her really frustrating. However, I have enjoyed reading the book. It's well written. The descriptions of the time and place are filled with interesting historical details. It's great as a piece of historical fiction. The author does focus quite a bit on nature, and I love his descriptions of nature. The changing of the seasons, what's in bloom in their garden, the flowers, the trees, what the sky looks like. I love all that. And the town where she and Charles end up settling in after their first town, you get to know the people in the town really well, too. And that's a lot of fun. That's almost like Middlemarch by George Eliot. You get to know these different townspeople. There's a little bit of wit and humor here, as you get to know everybody's habits and quirks. So I enjoyed all of that. I don't love a novel that's primarily about infidelity, which this really is. Emma was certainly not one of my favorite characters in literature. But I kind of felt the same way about Anna Karenina, that I really enjoyed the novel. Anna herself, didn't love her. She wasn't my favorite character. So, I think you can enjoy a book and appreciate a book without liking the main character. And that was the case with this. I did find it was a very engaging novel, very interesting. I never had trouble continuing to read it. And in fact, many nights, it's part of why I'm kind of worn out at this point at the end of the week. Many nights I did stay up too late reading. So overall, I enjoyed it. Not a big fan of the main character, but you can still enjoy a book, even if you don't want to be best friends with the main character. So I will finish that today. Next up on my Big Book Summer stack is Streets of Laredo by Larry McMurtry. This is the sequel to Lonesome Dove. I read Lonesome Dove for Big Book Summer last year, and it ended up being my #1 book of the year. My favorite book read all year and catapulted into my, top 10, top 20 books of all time. Absolutely outstanding. Now, everyone has said Streets of Laredo isn't quite as good as that. That's a very high bar. But I am looking forward to this, to the continued story of certain characters from Lonesome Dove. And it's not quite as much of a chunkster as Lonesome Dove was. It's about 536 pages, so looking forward to reading that. And I am also reading this for June on the Range. So looking forward to that as well. I will put the information for June on the Range in my notes down below because I realize I've mentioned it many times. I haven't told you who the hosts are, and there's a long list of them. So I'll put all that below with a link to the announcement video or one of the announcement videos for June on the Range. It can work very well in conjunction with Big Book Summer. Now on audio, I just finished my first big book of the summer, Artifice by Sharon Cameron. This is YA historical fiction, but you would never know it's YA. Like if you're the kind of person that says, "Oh, I don't read books for teenagers," it doesn't read like that at all. If you like historical fiction, period, this is an outstanding novel. It's set during World War II, and very often I think to myself, I have read about every single aspect of World War II that is possible. My book group has flat out said, no more World War II books, because there are a lot of them. But once again, books continually surprise me, and this one did, because this was several aspects of the war that I knew very little about or hadn't even heard about. And the two pieces that come together in this novel are, it's set in Amsterdam during the war. So the Nazis are occupying the Netherlands. It is about art forgeries and their role in the war, and also about the resistance smuggling Jewish babies out of the cities to some place where they can be safe. I knew very little about either of these activities of the resistance. So the main character is a young woman named Isa. She has grown up in an art gallery. Both of her parents were painters who ran this gallery together. Her mother died. Her father hasn't been the same since her mother died. So he's kind of holed up. They had to close the gallery down, of course, because the Nazis said it was degenerate art. They have hidden one of the biggest masterpieces that they own to keep it from the Nazis. Her father is living in their attic, painting. It's clear there's something going on with him. You don't know at the beginning whether it's dementia or some other kind of illness or simply grief, but Isa pretty much has to take care of him, make sure that he eats, somehow manage to bring money in to feed the family. And so she gets to a point where the taxes are due on their gallery, which is also their home, and she can't pay them. She goes to what used to be an art auction house that she was very familiar with. She went there even as a young child, and she brings with her a painting. And this is like the first scene in the novel. This is a Rembrandt that she sells to the Nazis. So there is no art auction anymore. The Nazis have taken over. They're paying a pittance for beautiful works of art by Dutch masters. And the people are so desperate just to feed their families that they're willing to do that. So this is in part how the Nazis acquired all that art during World War II, which I do know a little bit about. I saw that movie, was it Monument Men, that was about the art that was stolen during the war? I'll have to check on that. So anyway, Isa brings this painting in. She's all, and you know right from the start that she's putting this on, but I don't know if this is worth anything. I found it in my grandmother's attic, and she's got this whole story. And when she unwraps it, the agents for the Nazis that are there, they know immediately that it's a Rembrandt, and they buy it from her. And they actually give her a fair amount of money, not nearly what it's worth, but they give her a fair amount of money so that she can pay the taxes on their home. And again, this is all opening scene. As soon as she leaves, we find out that it was a forgery and that, she just tricked the Nazis. So that's the beginning of this. But then Isa soon finds out that one of her best friends is a part of the resistance. She learns of this smuggling of babies out of the city. She gets deeply involved in other aspects of the art world, the underground art world, the art of forgeries in Amsterdam. And it's historical fiction, and it's excellent as historical fiction with fascinating details that, like I said, I never knew about the war. But this is also very suspenseful. It reads like a thriller, like an art-related thriller. It is so engaging, so engrossing. It's a very gripping story that just kept me listening. I couldn't wait to hear more. The audio was excellent and very well done. So I really enjoyed Artifice by Sharon Cameron. This had been in my audio backlog for a couple of years, so I am so glad that Big Book Summer encouraged me to get to it. Next on audio, I actually started it last night, but I think I'm going to go back and re-listen. The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. I've never read any Dostoevsky. I've only read one of the great Russian classics, Anna Karenina, like I mentioned. So I've been looking forward to this. I've heard it's a really engaging plot. I'm already a little bit confused on the names, and I tried to look up the character names last night just on a search engine, and instead I got spoilers for the story, so that kind of sucks. But I think I'm just going to go back. I haven't listened to that much yet. I think I'm just going to go back and restart it today so that I can concentrate a little more and pick up the names. I think I understand now. I did online discover that it is the story of a father and his two sons. So right off the bat, that helps. Now I know who this guy is that they've been talking about. So we'll see how that goes. I have heard it's a really good classic novel. I've heard other people are reading it for Big Book Summer. So if you are, please let me know in the comments down below. If enough people are reading it, I'll set up a discussion thread in our Goodreads group. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. So that's what I'm reading this week. I would love to hear what you're reading. Please let me know in the comments down below.